I am so glad you decided to join us today. This is the Words for Life podcast, where we share perspectives, principles, and testimonies that will positively impact your life. Before we get started, I'm going to ask you to hit the like button and to also subscribe. Go ahead, do it now. Thank you. Thank you. The like button, that's for us, helps out our ratings. The subscribe button, that's for you. Next time you want to find some inspiring content, you want to look for Words for Life, it's going to be much easier if you're already subscribed. It's going to be in your subscription, so it'll be easier to find it there. This episode is going to be a nice one. Got my friend Jeffandy on. I've rocked out with Jeffandy many a days, and it's a pleasure. It's a pleasure to rock out with somebody that has a positive attitude, whose head is in the right space, and that's talented. You know, he's a musician, he's an artist, he's a producer. He's worked with Wyclef, he's worked with Dave Chappelle, Talib Kweli, Bootsy Collins, Common, Kanye West. That's just to name a few. And in this show, we're going to talk about how knowing what he wanted from an early age, persistently going after it, and putting God first, how that worked for him. He's got a couple of interesting stories in there also. From this, you should walk away inspired. We're going to touch on topics like feeling like your career and faith are in the way of each other. We touch on that. The dangers of not being yourself, and also the benefits of involving God in every single thing you do. It's really good. It's really good. So without further ado, here is my conversation with Jeffandy. So Jeff, man, how you doing, man? How are you?
I'm great. I had a strong morning, strong start to the morning, as we said. Then it was kind of like a strong nap is what I'll say.
Right. Okay.
I woke up just in time for this. So
that's good. That's good. I'm glad you woke up and didn't sleep too long. So it's all good. So in case the audience or the listeners, they don't know who this is, my good friend Jeffandy. We've played together. He's a guitarist. He's a producer. But in case people don't know who you are, what is the quick sum up of who you are, what kind of work you do, and maybe who you've worked with also? Yeah.
So, I mean, bios are always so weird for me. It's like, What do I want to know? Especially in the music industry, right? People name dropping all the time, but it does let you know kind of where the person's been, and maybe you worked with some of the same people or been some of the same places. So,
right.
My name is Jeffandy St.Hubert. Jeffandy is my first name. It is my first name. You know, no hyphens, dashes, commas, not even a capital A. It's just product of compromise. You know, mom wanted Jeff, pops wanted Andy, or either or, and they compromised. And so here I am. And just like my name, my experiences are kind of similar, where a bunch of things come together. I'm first generation Haitian, but living in America. And so that's been an experience, and grew up in a first generation Seventh-day Adventist family while playing for countless denominations or what have you. And in music, I was in the music industry, am in the music industry, but I also went to school for electrical engineering. And so
did I.
Wow.
I went to Farmingdale for electrical engineering. Strange. Okay.
See, this is why you got to share, just a little bit about your past, because there's common denominators.
Yes.
But, I had an engineering professor who said, I think he was my circuit analysis engineering professor. And he told me, Professor Grancourt, sorry to call you out, but he said, engineers are overqualified for every other job in the world. And I was like, oh, then I'll be a touring musician when I graduate. And so I said it in that class.
For real.
And so, after I graduated, it was a situation where I was working at a company and I was doing music full time. I said, I will never be one of these used to kids. When I was 5 years old or 6 years old is when I started playing music. Mother used it to kind of, I guess, help us stay off the streets, good pastime. We'll probably get into it. It's one of the things that kind of kept me in church all these years when friends were like going away. I was like, but music, and going to play. And God used that to kind of keep me around and keep my trying to get my attention. And I used to always hear as a kid, though, when I was 6 years old, 7, they're like, "Oh, you play piano?" "Oh, yeah, I used to play it. I used to." And I was like, man, everybody used to. And I was like, I never want to say I used to. So even in engineering school, I was like, even I'm going to work for this company, I never want to say I used to. And but I just thought that I couldn't make money from music. And so while in school, though, I was in school near this other college called Berklee College of Music in Boston. And I was just crashing classes there. And many people thought I went to school there because back then security wasn't too big. And I was sneaking in. I was in ensembles. I was in professors' classes. I was in like people's recitals. I was on tour with kids.
Nice.
And most of all, I was making money. And I was like, hold up. I thought I couldn't make money with this while in school. And so when I graduated, was working at this company. I declined a larger company just so I could work at a company where I could kind of punch in and punch out. And this manager at this job, the startup engineering job, asked me, he's like, "Where do you see yourself in the company?" And I said, "Music is my full-time job. It's my passion, what I feel called by God to do. And I'm here to get a check, and work hard." And obviously he didn't take my honesty too well. And so the next opportunity he had, he fired me. And so, yeah.
Yeah, when I read that, I was just like, "Wow, man, you didn't see that one coming?"
I mean, I tried to butter it up. I think I said like, "I'm here to work hard," but I was just, I was already at my wit's end. I was trying to, when in situations that you don't want to be in,
right?
You try to. I had it written on my desk. I was like, I had it kind of written in code. I put Colosh COL323,
right.
Just to like, in that verse says, whatever you do, do it as you're working for God, not for men. And so I was like, even if I hate this job, even if I just want a chance to really go into this music and try this out, try using this gift, even in a place where I don't want to be, I still want to work my hardest in this place. And so I was trying to apply myself. I tried to go for a higher position, interviewed for it, didn't get that higher position in the company. I believe it was and even though they said I was super qualified, I was a great fit. It was for a team lead, like a manager of a whole new thing, of an engineering department. So they're like, "Oh man, this job is still we still need a little bit more experience." So I felt like I was trying. And at that time, I just wanted to be honest.
Right. But no, I think what you said is so key, because a lot of times people, when they're focused on something else and they have something that's, let's say, like a placeholder, they give their minimum, but you still applied the word and was like, "I got to give whatever you do, give it as if you're giving it unto God." And I think that's admirable, because a lot of people feel it very hard to do that, especially. It's like, right. I don't want to be here. I know where I want to be. I'm just passing the time, but to still give your all, like, no, I'm still doing it for God. Right. I think that's really key. That's something people could definitely work away with.
In every industry, that's going to be the case. So
right.
And
go ahead.
No, I mean that's pretty much it. I mean, after that, and it was cool. Like, there was managers, because this was like a third manager at that company. Startups move quick. So the first manager, he saw me carrying my guitar in with me every day, saw me eating my lunch at my desk while taking my lunch breaks to go in the break room and like produce, like make these tracks. So, and when I actually got an opportunity for my first tour while at that company. And that first manager said, "Yeah, go for it." And it was a month. And he gave me a month off. I still was getting paid there. And I was able to tour with one of my friends, Alicia, in Italy. It wasn't a month-long tour, but, rehearsals for 10 hours a day and going off. And so so he was cool, and people were, they're excited about it, but not as excited. People are excited about your other opportunities, but they still want you to be excited about where you are.
Right.
A lot of lessons learned.
No, I think it's key. I mean, man, there's so much to pull away from this, because when you're focused on what it is you want to do, and then beyond that, you said you felt God was calling you to do that. A lot of times people just say, "Yo, I want to do this." Like, you know what? I want to blow up and do this. And they don't wait or check with God to see, is this what you want me to do? You know,
it's true. My mother, I think the sign where I was like, wow, something's different about where I am currently was my mother, who would always say, what are you going to do with music? You know, or how it's very volatile. This is this is Lucifer's gift of music and these things. Where it really changed for me is when I had a conversation with my mother. She said, if you were going to die in 30 days, would you still be working here? Which sounds morbid, but she said, if you knew you only had 30 days left, would you be still working here? And I was like, absolutely not. And she says, well, you can't just do something that's not making you happy. Like, you can't just be somewhere where you wouldn't be if that was the case. And so I was like, wow, even her tune is a bit changing, because I guess she saw that I wasn't truly happy. And so just really started praying to God about it and seeing, submitting your will to God's will.
Right. Now let me ask, let's dig into your faith a little bit more, because it sounds like you were well grounded from an early age, where you were checking with God beforehand, and where there's a lot of other testimonies where it's like, yeah, when I was younger, I was just like whatever, and then God had to call me or get my attention. Was there a moment where God got your attention?
Man, I think there's several moments, and I was like, is this weird? But I was thinking as you're asking me, like, is that weird? But there's, even when we look at like Bible, for anybody who's checked out Bible stories or what have you, I feel like, one of the patriarchs, Abraham, he had several moments. David had several moments. Esther had these moments. Each of them had multiple moments, and I think there were multiple moments in my life where you surrender a little more, you grow closer a little more, and each one kind of builds on each other.
Right.
And so, as I said, I grew up in a household of faith, and was given the opportunity to exercise that faith in little ways, just kind of like, you're going to pray to open Sabbath, even though you're like 10 years old or what have you, or I gave you $10 here, just give one back and God could bless you with more. Just, I don't know, things that I probably are imperceivable, and I wanted to accept Christ. I knew God existed. I'm trying to think of the earliest things. When I was like in third grade, I remember just I was in private schools until high school. That's when I started going into more public schools. But in like third grade in a particular private school, I was getting into like apologetics, because you know how kids have no filter. You can just talk when you got a booger and got something in your teeth. And so I was that kid that was like, wait, the Bible don't say that. The Bible does it. And then the teacher, who was like 3 times my age, is just like, hey, you're not supposed to be coming against me. You're like, 8 years old. And I was like, wait, doesn't it say this? Why are we doing this? And so it was like, these things existed. By the time I was in this job, I was like 23 years old. So I think all those things kind of built up. If I had to say the biggest kind of catch my attention point, it was, or the second biggest thing, I'll say like just 2 that led up to it. Not to be too long, but
no, that's all right.
When I was in college, this is kind of like one of the first things is I wanted to be an RA. I was living off campus. I'm from Boston, Massachusetts, from Brockton, Massachusetts, actually. A little bit outside of Boston, but it's actually the most black place in Massachusetts. I think it's the highest percentage if we look at. But so I was there, and I was commuting to school, instead of being on campus. And I was like, man, that's kind of a drag. Then I learned about this thing called RA. And I was like, hold up. And they were like, yeah, you get to live on campus for free. I was like, sign me up. Where do I sign? How do I get a part of this thing? And, they said, you got to write a letter, do this, get a recommendation. So I did all of that. And so I got the interview or what have you. And they said the biggest thing is this group interview that happens, and it happens on Saturday mornings. And I was just like, oh man, do I want to do that? Do I feel? And I was like, you know what, God, if you want me to get this for real, if you're real, well, I know you're real, but like, if you really want to be involved in what I'm doing, I'm just going to let this up to you. I'm just going to let go and I think even my mother probably, advised me and said, like, like, God could give you anything. And so I was just like, all right, I won't do the interview. And I said I couldn't for religious purposes. And they're like, oh, okay. I mean, that's the most important part. That's where we kind of see who shines and who not, who could interact with people. But we'll just accept your essay and see what happens. And so I missed that. And I had to interview with the RD, the residential director of the whole, college or university. And when I interviewed with him, I walked in and he had a picture of Bird, the trumpet player on his, well, no, I'm saying trumpet player, horn player. And I was like, oh, Bird. And he's like, oh, wait, you listen to jazz? And I was like, oh, yeah. And he was playing some, and we just talked about music for the next 30 minutes. And we forgot to interview. And he was like, oh, sorry, I forgot all about the RA thing. Yeah, you're hired. And I was like, whoa.
Nice.
And so from there, I was like, man, so I involved God in things, because I saw he wanted to be a part of my life. And so I just talked to him about stuff, but I was doing things my way. I was doing everything, but I kept Sabbath. But, I was like, hey, hold up. Nah, I can't club tonight. I'll club with y'all tomorrow night. Like, that was, it was bizarre. But I think the biggest thing was there was infidelity, and there was some, just almost a breaking apart of like my parents. And so I saw my family away. I was mostly staying with my girlfriend at the time. So I wasn't really home. I was either on campus or staying with my girlfriend. My brother was like a teenager and he wasn't really around. My father wasn't around for this separation time. And my mother was by herself and she was just like losing weight. People were like, what diet are you on? And she's like, no, they didn't know it was depression. And my mother had determined that she was going to even kill herself, and was going to do so. But another testimony is how God stopped her from doing that. And in that time, the only thing that saved my mother's life, the only thing that saved my parents' marriage, the only thing that saved, even though on biblical grounds, it's legal for them to be separated, even, the only thing that kept them together to where they're even stronger today, the only thing that like held the family together, who knows what would have happened to everybody, is God. And I remember with my girlfriend at the time, when I saw that God like intervened, I said, we have to have a conversation today. And I said, I realized that nothing can work if God's not in it. And we just got to kind of switch things up. I don't know how real we could get on this podcast, but I was just like, we got to stop doing certain things that the Bible says not to do, And, I thought it was going to be like screams or what do you mean we can't have sex anymore? What do you mean you can't?
Right.
Or, and I was just like, we got to stop doing certain things. And this wasn't even like a believer at the time, my girlfriend at the time. And she was just like, cool, no, that makes sense. And I'm with you. I support you in what you're trying to do and involving God and stuff. And that was the start, I would think, the turning point, just realizing that God in the situation is the only bulletproof situation.
That's deep, dude. That's real deep. I want to touch on your occupation. You as a producer, a musician, artist as well. Now, you said you've worked with Wyclef, Dave Chappelle. I'm just reading a couple names here. Common, Fred Thomas, Kanye West.
Right.
Have you ever felt like, God has definitely put you in some nice situations, or what others would from the outside looking in go, yo, those are some nice situations. Have you ever felt like your faith got in the way of your profession?
Absolutely not. I would say, well, I felt like that. I felt like it, but the truth is, it's kind of like, it's like an eclipse. Like when you got the moon and the sun and it looks like they're in the way, that's actually when they're in perfect alignment. And what I mean by that is when it looks like your faith is going to get in the way, that's an opportunity for not only your faith to grow, but your career to grow if you perceive it in the right way. And so I just, moving to New York, I moved to New York in 2017. I said, I have one game plan. All those names you mentioned happened after I moved to New York in 2017. And my only game plan was put God first. And if I get a no, then it wasn't for me. And I think God, even some of the situations, if they didn't honor God all the way, he just allowed me to get to it just to show him that, just so he could show me that like I could do anything, and so he could grow closer to me. And so, yeah, I think times where I didn't get the opportunity I desired, I think the first thing that happened was Talib Kweli was, and I was praying about that. I was like, man, Lord, I'm just trying to, it seems like you called me to do this thing, and the very thing you called me to do, I'm unable to do because I'm being a servant of you. But, you can't walk through a door if it's not big enough to let your faith in through it, with it. And I just thank God for just, having just coming through when I just pray and be like, come on, God, I've been told so many no's. I started getting sad when I heard opportunities. Like I got a text like, hey, we about to go on tour, or hey, we need you in the studio for XYZ. And I was like, hey man, what day is it? Like I wasn't getting excited anymore. Yeah, I was just like, oh man, I'm about to tell them that I can because of this. I keep this time off. And I remember my homie Chris Sholar. It was either Chris Sholar and Brady Watts, because several people hit me up for the Talib gig. And so when I told them about the Sabbath thing, because you almost want to lock it in first before you tell them whatever.
Right? Yeah.
And so I told them though out the gate, like, all right. So I was like, yeah, man, I observed this thing. You got to explain it, because this ain't even a person that you don't know what people's backgrounds are. Right. So I was like, yeah, I observed this thing, like, kind of like them, them cats with the black hats and stuff in New York do on Friday nights and Saturdays. Like, I don't work. And so if it's any other time, I'm available, but I won't be able to do this time. And I already started typing in my recommendations, like, hey, I know this, my other homie, he could probably, and they were like, nah, we'll just go without guitar Friday night. And I was like, wait, what? And
nice.
I was like, wow, God could open up doors. So yeah, that's what I would say, man. Now for sure, I just know that if my faith can't walk in through the door, then it's not for me. Because the biggest thing, the reason why we were given our gifts is to like bring glory to God in some way. So it wouldn't make sense if you can't, bring God in the situation with you, whatever God's calling you to do or to not do. Yeah.
That's yo, dude, that inspires me, man. I mean, and I've got a similar testimony, but like you said, once you start getting certain calls, like I run the recording studio, and then I get calls like, yo, can we come by on Saturday? And it's just like, yo, that's a big one. Yeah. But like you said, if it ain't big enough to hold your faith, then if your faith can't walk through the door with the opportunity, then the opportunity ain't for you. So I really appreciate you sharing that, man. I really do. That's dope. Yeah. Now,
sure.
Have you ever felt like the like you were trying to chase success? Where it's like, okay, I gotta get this next one. Okay, I gotta get this next, and you felt like you were on the rat race. Because I know a lot of people go through that.
Man, definitely. I think, I was just goal oriented from not the best place as a kid. Like, I got to hustle. We got to do this, that. And, so I got to get it on my own. That's just the culture that I kind of grew up in, even though I grew up in a very fortunate position, having both parents. We weren't rich, but we weren't dead broke either. As I said, I was going to private schools. And so my mother working multiple jobs, father working jobs, just to put us in a better position, and they came from nothing to come here. You know what I mean? And so they were like, we ain't ever going to live in projects per se. We're going to try to not that there's something wrong with that, but they were just trying to level up. Right. And so I just had that mentality of trying to level up myself. And I was doing, just overly exerting myself in college, trying to double major, do all types of things to hustle and earn this thing. But it was about me, honestly. If you want, it's like, I'm going to show how I could go hard, how I could. And so that transcended to music, where it was like, okay, you got to be the best guitarist in the room. All right. Like I would walk in New York. I would come on stage to gigs that I wasn't on. Which sounds kind of crazy.
That does sound crazy, dude.
Listen, I was just like, you got to do everything to position yourself. And the first time I played with Kweli, my homie I came to Blue Note. This is a club in New York, famous jazz club. I came to the Blue Note and I had $15 to my name. And you know, those clubs, you got to buy stuff. You can't just walk in, especially since like I don't even know how I got in for free, but somehow I got it. Oh, I think maybe I was on a guest list because I knew the trumpet player who was playing. So somehow I got in. So I'm like, cool, sitting at this table, and lady's like, okay, you gonna order a drink? Nah, I'm saying I don't drink. You got to drink something. It's like, can I drink water? No, you got to drink something. So I was like, all right, I don't know, man, ginger beer. That ginger beer was $9. So I was like, wow, I have $6 to my name now. And I was like, there's no way I came here and I'm not about to make something with it. And again, we're just talking about hustling from the wrong place, chasing success from the wrong place.
Right.
So I took out my guitar on my table. There's like these tight tables. I started tuning it right there and there, tuning it. And then he was like, I'm going to call a special friend to the stage. He called Kweli, and I got up. I don't know what song they're about. I don't know any. I just walked up right behind them, and Kweli gets on the stage. He daps up the artist. Then I get on the stage. I knew him, but he didn't know I was coming up. And so he was just like, what the like, and I shake his hand, and I knew the guitar player who was playing, so he thinks it's part of the show. He's like, oh, what's good, bro? And he gives me the guitar to plug in, and the trumpet player's like, dang, now what we gonna do now? I'm either gonna have to kick you off the stage or, he's like, you know this? I was like, yeah, I played that gig with you that one time. I know it. And I knew exactly when the guitar solo was, everything. And I went in front, played. And after, they were all like, dude, I don't know how you had the balls to do it, but yo, that was dope. And I got praised for it, and I got put in these different positions. And I did that a lot, bro. I did that, and eventually started getting invited to it. But I think where it shifts, talking about chasing success, now it's just from a much more healthy place, because a lot of people will overexert themselves. They won't sleep. They'll put themselves in like health conditions. They'll be away from their family, from their loved ones, compromise whatever their morals are, just chasing success. And I think when you realize that it's God who gives you success, like in whatever you're doing, and he's the one that could give you certain success, because you could do all these things and not get it. You could put all this time in, put all this work in and not get it. And then you're like, man, you could not be yourself, who you want to be. And there's people that change who they are to be successful. And that's actually worse, because then when you get successful, you're not even who you want to be. And so you're like, man, that's why you got these artists and people who reach it. And they're like, dude, I can't even be myself because the world sees me as this person. But I just did that to get here. So I had to switch it to, but then I don't want to be lazy. And I think the story of the talents is what encourages me now. And it's like, God gave, one person 5 talents, one person 2, and one person 1. And they took it and they did something with it. They multiplied it. And the person with the 1 talent was too scared, so he buried it in the ground. You know what I'm saying? And I was just like, that's where I could hustle from. And so I work hard to give the best that I can do with what God gave me. It's like, I'm gonna wake up, I'm gonna do X, Y, Z. I'm gonna get the most, flip what God has given me to the utmost, but then he gives his children rest too. So I know that I'm not the one ultimately that's gonna make it happen, but my effort is to honor God. That's how I praise God. I put the hours in to praise God, not to reach it, because he's the one that makes me reach it.
Right. Yeah, I think that's so key, dude. You hit on so many key points. One of the things that I've realized is that the only thing we control, what God has given us, is choice and our effort. He controls the outcome of the whole thing, but choice and effort, that's on us. The outcomes, the direction, all of that, he's trying to guide all of that. If you listen to him, but the choice to choose him, because he doesn't force it on you, and then the effort behind it. He can open the door, and if you're lazy with it, you don't give the effort, give your best. Like you said from back when you had the engineering job. It's like, yo, I'm doing it as if I'm doing it for God. So I think that's so key, man. That's so key.
It's Joseph, man. That's Bible stories, bro. Like Joseph, he was a slave and he was trying to be the best. That sounds crazy to me, but that set him up for his next position. Right. Joseph is like a Bible character, and I'm sure people checking this out probably know about Joseph, but look it up. It's and Joseph is that inspiration. I looked at these stories like, okay, God, I see how you bless somebody in a position they didn't want to be in. They just worked hard, and Joseph wasn't working for himself. He was just like, I'm just going to give God glory, and yeah. So.
Right. 100%, man. 100%. Yo, dude, as I bring it to a close, man, do you have any final advice for maybe artists coming up, young artists coming up that want to be all that they can be, and they looking to get on or whatever, and they putting in all the hours? You got any advice?
Man. I'm trying to think what I would tell myself if I was starting, or what I would tell myself today or 10 years ago. I think I would just say that if you don't know who, the creator of the universe is, if you don't acknowledge like Jesus Christ, or don't know that name, or you kind of know it from like just from what people say on TV or social media, I would say check it out. Check them out for yourself, because that's the person who gave you your talents. And God's gift to us is our talents. Our gift back is what we do with them. And the person who could help you bring your gift to the maximum potential is the one who gave it to you. And so that's like the ultimate advice. Because if you say, God, how can I practice? How do I understand these things? How do I come up? How do I learn how to produce? How do I, do whatever? How do I, all these things? It's God. And so I would say first, I think it's my nephew.
Oh, that's all right. It's real life. It's real life.
What up, buddy? You gotta be persistent like my nephew.
Right. It's all good,
yeah,
right?
It's like terrible 2 turn terrible 3. But yeah, what I guess just finding out who God is, and this just the way that I'm talking to you. I remember there was one time where I said, I was sitting in my car, and I was like, man, God, I wish you were right here so I could just talk to you. It would be so much easier. And I was like, wait, your word says that I can just talk to you as a friend. And so I just began to speak to God, not in a disrespectful way, like, what up, my, you know what I'm saying?
But right.
Yes, I began to speak to God about my issues. And when I realized that God cares about everything, so he cares about your career, then that's when you could involve him more and speak about every single move. If it's like what Instagram post to do, what food to eat, when to wake up, when to practice, what gig to take, what not, how much should I ask to get paid? When you could begin to look for counsel to God, when you acknowledge him in all your ways, he'll direct your path, bro. And the biggest testimony, I could just rant on this, but I'm trying to give that one single advice. It's like, get to know who the creator of your gift is and involve him in every single thing, because the biggest testimony, the only Bible that some will read is you in your life. And when they read your life, when they look at you, they got to be inspired to know. That's when you have a chance to speak of your God, you know what I'm saying? And I think that's why God allowed me in some certain rooms. It wasn't to progress. It wasn't to anything. It was to just give him glory and show who he is. And so, yeah.
No, that's excellent advice, man. As a matter of fact, you just helped me there, because a lot of times we was like, okay, God, I need you to help me with the production. I need you to help me with, what to eat and all of that. But then when it's like, what should I charge? It's like, all right, what is he charging? What is he? I forget to go back to God and go, what should I charge? Like, there's certain things, and to keep that fresh on your mind, I think is key. I think that's real key.
It's powerful, man. Especially the charge. It's like, well, how much is your rent? God, that might just be what God's telling me. It's like, how much is your rent? Yep, charge that, or double that.
Right. No, that's what's up, man. Bro, I appreciate you, man, taking the time out, man. I appreciate dude. I just appreciate your spirit, man. You just I'm glad God stuck it in my brain or told me to give you a call and invite you on.
Man, blessed to be here. And I appreciate you. For those who have never seen you, or maybe only seen you on this podcast or in the studio, TV, in the drum cage, always smiling, always a good time. So,
yes, sir.
COVID has kind of stopped us playing in person, but I look forward to getting back to rocking with you soon, man.
I almost forgot. Yes. What is Jeffandy doing now, and where can they link up with you, man?
Amen, man. Well, I'm glad I did this today. We dropping I have a band with another brother, me and my brother Daniel Abraham, and he's just like, we're not blood brothers, but we came up just in the same neighborhood, same love for God, same passion, so much, so similar. And so the name of the band is Saint Abraham, my last name being St.Hubert, his last name being Abraham, Daniel Abraham. And so we got this band. It's like a duo, like I don't know, West African Daft Punk
nice
duo of just us two doing things. And we're dropping a record, the top of 2021. We're going to start with some good energy. And but we're dropping some things before then. And so Saint Abraham is the handle, SaintAbraham is how we spell it on everything. And that's on Instagram, on Facebook. And then my stuff is on Jeffandy, my first name, the word all, the word together. And so you type that in Spotify, type that in, all the streaming stuff, or Instagram, Jeffandy, all together. And yeah.
All right, man. Real cool. Now, are you on Instagram more or on Facebook more?
I would say Instagram more, although I have a love-hate relationship with social media, but yeah. I'd say Instagram more. Instagram more is because I feel like I could get in and get out.
Right. But, yeah. I know. I feel you on that. Definitely. All right. So definitely check out Jeffandy. Support. Check out the music. If you love it, tell somebody else about it, and let's support each other, people. Man, it's really good to hear testimonies like this. It's good to know that there's people out there that's focused on God, that's putting God first to the best of their ability, and still making it happen in their industry. If you want to join the Words for Life family, join a group of positive people, visit wordsforlife.today. That's words, the number 4, life.today. Right at the top, you'll see how to join the family. We'd love to have you. We put out inspiring content all the time, be it through the podcast or Words for Life tracks or even our positive apparel. So if that interests you, definitely go to wordsforlife.today and join the family. Become a member. And remember, you can do better by yourself, but you can only be your best with God. I'm out.
With the understanding that success is inevitable, then the process is the gift. I'm going to win. I'm not set up to fail. I got God on my side. It doesn't matter how long it takes. There's regular faith. You know what I mean? There's faith that's a noun, which is unactivated. There's faith that's a verb, and it's like, God help me pay my bills. You understand what I'm saying? And then there's faith that is irrational and illogical, and it's like, I know that God can do anything. So I have no limits. It's not that I'm so insatiable. I'm just a faithful steward, and I got to be accountable for everything God gives me. So guess what? That man put a camera in my hand. Then he placed me in a room and gave me an opportunity. And an email came in and, hey, are you? Guess what? It's not me. That's the humility of it all. Man, I'd be terrified. This is way out of my skill set. I didn't even ask for this. But I asked God to bless me though. And the deal I made with God is, if you crack the door, I'll kick it down and run through it. Crack it. It don't even gotta be physically open. Just let me know it's unlocked. I'll kick it down and run through it, I promise. That's the deal I made with God. You understand what I'm saying? And I believe in aggressive evolution. You don't have to wait for something to happen. You can decide. You can push it. You understand what I'm saying? You don't have to wait for circumstance to present itself. And no. And hard work creates opportunity. The discipline, the sacrifice, the consistency, the passion, the reinventing of yourself, the sacrifices you make in helping other people when you don't have, and inspiring other people and sharing the process with them, even though you haven't even ascertained to what you're working towards. With the understanding that success is inevitable, then the process is the gift. Most people want to hit a plateau and find safety there. You understand what I'm saying? Say, I'm good right here. This was my goal. I accomplished it. I'm good. You understand what I'm saying? I don't think that exists with me. The success doesn't come from what you're amazing at. What you're amazing at facilitates you doing, you reaching more people and you helping more people. What you're amazing at facilitates you to do work. If I'm a famous basketball player, I'm an MVP and I'm making millions of dollars, that's not what the success is. That then facilitates me to open a school, to help children who are in need and blah, 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 or a hospital. Do you understand what I'm saying? The work doesn't end. So that doesn't mean I'm an overachiever, but now I created a school and now the school is amazing and it's doing amazing things. And then I open 5 more. That's not overachieving. That's not being unsatisfied. That's a higher level of accountability. Your talent and your gift is given to you to facilitate what your purpose is.